Hello, welcome back to Aetheral Space 12.9. Bleed for me, said the Pauper to the king.
Ooh, that's a fucking sick title. That better be what a character says in this chapter. Someone better say that, quote that.
To a king?
Bleed for me, said the Pauper to the king. Alright, we're back. How are you feeling about Aetheral Space right now? I'm
Pretty
feeling
good.
really good about this arc. I fucking love this arc. How many I know you said we're a little over halfway now. How many arcs do you see the story
I know
having left?
events, I don't know how those will split into arcs, so I couldn't say.
Okay. But we still got a lot of Aetheral Space to go?
Yeah.
This is just
We're in the second
beginning
half of the story, I would say, yeah.
Because they're already in the tournament, so I know the whole second half won't just be the Dawn contest, so I'm very curious to see what things happen going forward. Especially with the Kalima. Oh man, I'm so excited. But, enough of that. We're jumping straight into it. Intergalactic Museum of History, Tenheight, Supremacy Space. 1 month earlier. Machinery whirred, gas hissed, displays beeped. The void became the cold, became the prelude to warmth. All around him were voices chattering to each other, barked instructions and hasty self-congratulations. Something's never changed. The man called Mariloco opened his eyes. I hope you wake in a kinder world than this. His brow creased in annoyance. Words spoken to him just moments ago now seemed like an old memory. More than just old, he supposed. More likely they were history, ancient now. But his reflexes were still in top condition, and so his brown eyes scanned the room. Did he get woken up from, like, cryogenic stasis or something?
Who can say?
Classic Darnell moment. He was lying down in the stasis pod. Countless thick tubes attached to his upper torso, their functions powered down into uselessness now that the pod had been opened. Will this be like in Dune where they have the dude from Ohio, like Duncan from Idaho or whatever? Yes, someone had woken him up. Billy Joe from fucking Texas, a group. He could see them, the silhouettes of men and women around his pod. 4 in all, scientists of some kind from their bearing and uniforms. Cowards who focused on one form of strength to the expense of all others. The ones who had woken him up, no doubt. This room was dark, dim, the back room of some establishment. A place to throw away forgotten things that no longer held interest. He disliked it. His eyes moved to the nearest of the scientists, a bald man. The researcher stopped talking to his colleagues, stopped demanding adjustments and readings as he realized that Mariloco was fully awake. He did not blink. He had that sense. Good morning, he said haltingly. What should this guy's voice be, by the way?
Like this.
Unchained, Mariloco replied. 4 human beings became 4 bloody pancakes in an instant, crushed by unkind gravity. With all the noise now gone, Mariloco leisurely stretched himself up into a sitting position, tubes and wires snapping as he pulled them taut. If I was in the Supremacy, you know what I would never do?
What?
Be a scientist. Because combination of not having the strength powers and every experiment being, like, awful that the Supremacy does, I would not want retribution. I would be the most innocent occupant. I would be a baker. Because who's going to kill the baker, right?
Did you craft this bread with your bare hands, or did you use a machine?
Smash!
Eat it! This bread, you may, like, slam it into your jaw.
At any time in the Supremacy, you're at risk of a ridiculous shonen villain murder. Like, there's nothing you can do about it. If you just piss a guy off. Mariloco leisurely stretched himself up into a sitting position, tubes and wires snapping as he pulled them taut. Preservation liquid dripped from his naked form as he cracked his joints, reacquainting himself with the world. Mariloco was not a large man. He just about came to 5'5". Hey, I'm taller than Mariloco.
Short
But he was surely a strong one. His body was tense with muscle, the power in his form made obvious by his utter relaxation as he moved through the world. Oh, do the weakest people, are they just, like, constantly stiff and, like, scared?
Well, it just means, like, he's relaxed because he has no fear of anything hurting him.
Nice. As opposed to the average citizen who is filled with fear because at any moment...
Just like, just like utterly relaxed. He's like, he doesn't care.
No, I'm not, you misunderstand. I'm not making fun of that. That makes sense. I'm saying the people who don't have power in this world probably are very nervous.
And like, even in real life, he's lacking, like, the natural tension someone would have in their, like, movements.
Yeah, he's so relaxed. I love him. Long dark hair hung in greasy clumps around his head. He brushed it lazily out of his eye with his thumb. Even after he'd cleared out the noise, he wasn't alone in this dark room. Lingering by the door was a woman with short blonde hair, in a blazer and long skirt. Her hair was immaculately arranged in a strange swirling pattern, and her clothing bore not a single thread out of place. It was like looking at a human doll. Such organization did not come naturally. He disliked it. "You," Mariloco said, his voice firm and deep, the only trace of emotion being the slightest trace of annoyance. "Woman, for how long did I sleep?" If the woman was perturbed by the death of her underling, she didn't show it. Her red lips curled into a practiced, polite smile. "It's been 200 years since you were placed into stasis." Mariloco accepted it immediately. "I see," he said, and then he raised a calloused hand, ready to receive a throat. "Come here. I'll kill you."
Sigma male.
Imagine if someone just did that. They're like, okay. The woman took in a deep breath through her nose. "Before you do that, we have a proposal." Unchained. Purple aether ran across Mariloco's skin, and red aether crawled across the woman's hair. As gravity pressed down upon her with cruel force, she remained standing, even if her legs did tremble beneath her. At any rate, she did not become a smear of red as Mariloco had intended. He released his ability. "Speak," he said, satisfied. "Who are you?" Is this like a Tree of Might, motherfucker?
He's 200 years ago. It was more hardcore.
Yeah, back then. And all you see is violence in movies and sex on TV.
Who are these woke liberals?
They're ruining the supremacy with their
worst
mercy.
Has fallen.
We used to have statues and shit.
This is not a guy who would give a fuck about statues.
The woman recovered herself, her breath deep and ragged as she recovered from... recovered twice? Heartbeat shotgun. As she somethinged from Mariloco's assault. "Alicia Jane Marsden," she said. Wait, isn't Marsden a familiar name?
I don't know, might be.
Is she related to the hospital guy? What was his name?
No.
Okay, I thought Marsden was familiar. She said, wiping her forehead with a handkerchief. "I'm an acquisition specialist for Halcyon Interstellar." Halcyon? The name ringed familiar. Mariloco's brow creased into displeasure once again. "The Great Chain. Is this a matter of vengeance, then, woman?" Alicia shook. She just introduced herself, bro. You can't be calling her woman. It's fucked up. Alicia shook her head. "Not at all. Times have changed, as I'm sure you'd expect. Halcyon is now an independent corporation, one that is very close friends with the Supremacy. We've revived you to make you an offer." Mariloco did not speak, but merely raised an eyebrow. "How would you like," she said, "to become supreme?" Ooh, Piolo. Is that how it's pronounced?
Yeah.
Or is it Piolo? Piolo. Former prison colony. Supremacy space. The streets of the shantytown ran red with blood. The blood ran past sliced corpses and piles of viscera. The blood ran past shattered automatics and ruined weapons. The blood ran past crumbling houses and blown-apart buildings. The blood ran past everything, the only constant in this city of scrap. When the Supremacy decided this place would be the site of an outer melee, they had forcibly evacuated the residents to facilitate it. Most of those people would never return to their homes again. Those who did would wish otherwise, as the stink of blood crawled up their nostrils and invaded their dreams. Yes. I also imagine part of the reason for an evacuation is I imagine outer melees and inner melees tend to produce awakenings by nature.
Maybe, yeah.
Just have awakenings running around, killing things like natural disasters. Yes, this hellish scene would surely live on in the mind of that man, too. He was in the center of town, where the rivers of blood met and became a red pool. There he remained, perched atop a pile of corpses like some carrion bird, looking down into himself. The hellish red sunlight shone down, silhouetting him, robbing him of structure, turning him into the shadow he surely saw himself as. His reaches looked more like horns, stretching upwards sinisterly. His eyes were dull, full of despair, and his aether crackled red in response. 2 years ago, nobody had known this man's name. He was a nobody with no past and no place to be. Now the entire criminal underworld shuddered at its mention. This was the founder of the Crimson Carnival, that infamous band of assassins. This was the greatest killer in Supremacy Space. Hold on. I've heard this line before. This was the man they called the King of Killers, Nail Manrin. First of all, hype as fuck that Nail's back. Second of all, this is not the first King of Killers.
Yes, he's got a new title.
What happened to King of Killers Eli Macedora?
He died.
So, did they just pass on the titles?
Yeah.
Do they just, like, look up, like, your stats for how many bodies you have?
Well, yeah,
They're like, that's
the
the
most
King of
renowned
Killers.
killer. You're the King of Killers.
On assassin.web, they keep track. Nail looked up, the look in his blood-red eyes as dark as ever. Up above, in the sky, they'd begun to launch fireworks to celebrate the end of the outer melee. To celebrate his victory, he supposed. He did not smile at the thought. What a joke. What a mess. Imagine getting betrayed by your GF once and becoming King of Killers Nail Man. Actually, that's exactly what happened to the last King of Killers, isn't it?
It's a cursed title.
How much of Aetheral Space villainy is proposed by, like, something happening in a relationship between two? It's all that. It's like someone dies or breaks up or, like, betrays you, and then you're like, I will kill everybody. It's the Aetheral curse. Alright, next we have Rurian, Leisure... Oh, were these all the planets mentioned last time, too?
No, these are outer melees.
So this is... So currently we're in the inners, but
Yeah,
this is like a month ago. Right. Rurian, Leisure Planet, Supremacy Space. Once, Rurian had been another farming world before a certain high-ranking Supremacy official had taken a liking to the small planet and decided to make it his vacation home. The farms were gone, replaced with resplendent green fields for golfing. The villages were gone, replaced by golf courses, never mind. Even the insects that had once run rampant on Rurian were kept far away from civilization by subtly transmitted frequencies. The sun shone yellow and the grass glowed green, the moon doth shine and the grass doth grow. It would have been peaceful if not for all the shouting. God damn it! Brutus Mur roared, straining against his capture. The massive pugnaut had been wrapped from head to toe in thick ropes of grass, the vegetation beneath him having constricted around his form. He wrestled an arm free, but another tendril of grass, still obeying the command it had been given, lashed out and seized the limb, holding it tight. There was no escape, no matter how much rage he poured into it. Ground, his tormentor said politely. Bury everyone the grass is currently holding up to their waists, please. Ignore this order if their heads are facing downwards already, or if it would otherwise be life-threatening. He sank into the dirt like quicksand. God damn it! God damn it! God damn it! That's an interesting... by the way, sorry if you said something. My headphones cut out for a second. So she added a lot of interesting restrictions there. I'm curious. Brutus knew this young woman, as did the countless other contestants trapped around him, shouting their complaints and threats. Dorothy Iro? Dorothy Iro. Along with the Toy Muzazi and the Aether Abomination Palatine, she was said to be one of the 3 special officers closest in strength to the former contenders. You wouldn't know it by looking at her. Her black hair was tied into pigtails, and her freckled face beamed at the hordes restrained in front of her. Rather than armor, or at least some kind of uniform, she wore a simple white and blue blouse, with a similarly colored blow decorating her collar. She honestly looked like she'd wandered in from a farm. Well, she said sweetly, slapping her hands together in satisfaction. That should just about do it. Thank you for a wonderful time, everyone.
I think the southern accent's there, but maybe a little less, like, prominent.
Well, she said sweetly, slapping her hands together in satisfaction. That should just about do it. Thank you for a wonderful time, everyone.
That's it.
Okay, that's gonna be hard for the future. Be nice to me if it's off. She sauntered off, humming a merry tune to herself, and one by one, the caravan So she didn't kill them.
No.
Right? Yeah, okay. She sauntered off, humming a merry tune to herself, and one by one, the caravan wristbands attached to each contestant determined they were no longer capable of fighting. Automatic surrender eliminated them from the outer melee. I assume you could also declare your surrender.
Yeah.
Is there any protection offered if you surrender, or can people still kill you?
You get protection. Yeah, you get zoomed out of there.
Yeah, they fucking teleport you like the fucking Chimera Wing in Dragon Quest. Brutus could do little more than hurl frustrated expletives with the rest of them at the shrinking figure of the girl they called the kindest special officer. First normal special officer that doesn't murder everybody. 1 victor, 99 losers, and not a single death. Oh, here we go. Oh, here we go. This is the edge I needed. Hell's Gate, Desert World, Supremacy Space. Do we know this character yet?
This is new.
Okay. What voice?
Maybe like this.
Listen, Luke hissed. This is gonna work. He was huddling in the massive skeleton of a serpent with his new ally, taking shelter from the raging sandstorm outside. Red sand shredded everything that dared to poke its head out. Luke had been a little slow getting into cover, and the arm that had been exposed for just a moment was now bare and bloody. The skirt he grouped up with Grulgos. Grulgos! I love that. I'm stealing that as a name, by the way. I love Grulgo. Was a chubby round fellow with green bristles dangling from his engorged cheeks. He looked at Luke doubtfully.
Sounds like bullshit, he warbled. Grulgos don't like bullshit. No, sir.
It ain't bullshit, Luke urged, cogitant blue eyes shining as he leaned in closer. See? Look at my eyes, man. Trust me. I know what I'm talking about. I've freaking analyzed the situation, man. I've analyzed it. I know what's going on. It ain't bullshit, you see. You see how we're hiding here, man? Bro?
Yeah.
Grulgo nodded. Everyone else is gonna be doing the same things, you know. When you think about it, Luke continued in hushed tones, gesturing wildly with his hands. It's common sense, you get me? It's strategy, tactics, my guy. Shelter is the number one thing you gotta have here. Otherwise, the sand gets you. Grulgo nodded again. Good. He was starting to understand. That was good, great even. So, Luke leaned in closer, compulsively and uselessly slicking his black hair back with one hand. I say, as soon as the sandstorm lifts, as soon as we, can get running around and get mobility, we start destroying all the cover, Smash it to fucking pieces! That way, when the sandstorm hits again, what happens? Grulgo didn't answer, so Luke did it for him. Nowhere to hide, he declared. They get shredded, fucking shredded! And you and me, my man, we're riding pretty fucking trillionaires! Fucking oligarchs, I assume oligarchs.
Yeah.
Fucking oligarchs, my guy! He sniffed. By the way, you got any bubble? Grulgo blinked, the heavy cogs in his mind slowly turning until they finally clicked into place and he understood. This guy was a genius! Oh, I love them. Don't let them die. Can we get a spin-off series? Luke and Grulgo? Is he Grulgo or Grulgosh?
His name's Grulgosh.
The two of them were so busy celebrating their ill-conceived scheme that they didn't notice. They didn't notice the figure in the black cloak emerging from the sandstorm behind them. They didn't notice it raise a gnarled hand covered in unsightly black veins towards them. They didn't notice it whisper rash piss at them, each syllable dripping with hatred and spite. No way. Fuck off, Tan. How? I forgot her voice.
It's changed now. If it's anything else.
Probably like a fucking ghoul.
Yeah.
Forest of Sin! What happened after that? Sadly, they very much did notice. Oh, imagine using a mega city to that sucks. All the infrastructure gone for no reason. Do they pay for repairs to these planets?
Yeah, some of them.
Is it like a lottery that decides which planets are picked?
Yeah, it's also just ones that the committee likes to think will be good.
Yeah. There's I'll share it after this because it's kind of dark, but there's an interesting fact about that I think is relevant to that. Mordun the Greater, Ultra City, Supremacy Space. So I assume there's a smaller planet orbiting it.
Yeah.
Mordun the Lesser. Thump, 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 thump. With each step the first branch of the Tree of Might took, his followers, lined up in a human corridor, thumped their staffs in unison, with their strikes slamming against the traditional wooden floor of the starship. Oh, I like that, a wooden floor on a starship. That's kind of fun. It's unique. It produced a sound not unlike a drum to lead strength to glory, they might say. If the boy was bothered at all by the grandiose reception, he did not show it. The new first branch, only child of the tile's former holder, marched down the main hall of the starship, his face set into resolve beyond his years, his brown eyes framed by shaggy brown hair. Xander Rain, 14 years old, and, as of 1 hour ago, a winner of the Outer Melees. This was not just their leader, The Tree of Might was celebrating. This was victory! So Xander's their leader?
Yeah.
As he reached the head of the room, ascending a small flight of stairs, Xander raised his ceremonial glaive up high, and the pace of the drumming increased. From somewhere in the back of the room, the trill of a heart flute began to sound, bouncing across the walls and uniting each and every participant. This was a traditional supremacy celebration, something the rest of the galaxy and their moral weakness and decay had long since forgotten. Bang! With a spark of beige aether, Xander slammed his glaive down onto the ground, the noise overpowering the rest of the drumming. Voice?
Well, he's like 14, so...
I don't know how to be a 14-year-old boy. Give me a reference.
Maybe like this.
Supreme! Xander cried.
Maybe a little less...
Bang! Supreme!
Yeah.
I don't know how to... That was the same. Supreme Xander cried. Bang! Supreme! The crowd roared. Bang! Supreme! They all screamed together. The final slam of the glaive pierced the floor, cheering enough to deafen a god. The rest of this dawn contest would be but a formality. Xander Rain and the rest of the Tree of Might already knew who their next Supreme would be. They had known for a long time now. How do I pronounce this planet?
However you wish.
Jungle World, Supremacy Space. The Skurin sat calm, contemplative, his forearms arranged in an intricate meditation pose, the eyes that coated his muscles staring at the world around him. His blue skin shone bright in the rising sun, and the petals of the great lotus he sat in fluttered in the gentle breeze. Yes, the Skurin sat serene in a garden of carnage. All around him were corpses, locked in their final poses of terror, their forms mangled and twisted. It would have been unsightly, perhaps even horrifying, if not for the plants. Countless flowers, bright and beautiful, had sprouted from each and every orifice of each and every corpse, coating the cadavers and creating a beautiful paradise around the Skurin. He reached down with one massive, gentle hand and plucked a blue flower from the eye socket of the nearest body. It twitched in agony. "Kill me!" It moaned, voice muffled by the stems that were forcing themselves up and out of its throat. The Skurin smiled kindly, raising the body's chin with a finger. "But you have so much to live for." Ro no no Wotoyo. Urban World, Supremacy Space. That's the most fun name. Say that one 5 times fast. Okay, I'll do it. Rona no Wotoyo. 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 I did it. It had been a long and hard battle, fought through the deserted city streets, the waters of the canal rising to wash away the blood as it fell. With a final hearty punch, the last opponent was sent flying off a skyscraper, his arms and legs flailing as he soared through the sky. His flight did not last long, though. Before long, a sickening crunch and a pile of meat was all that remained of him. I assume of him instead of on him. On the other hand, the last man standing, perched on the edge of that same skyscraper, was quite the sight to see. His eyes were hidden by huge black sunglasses, Johnny, and his hair was forced upwards into a chaotic red mohawk. Sparkling white teeth were spread out in a boisterous grin, despite the blood that coated his black shirt and his running pants. His ragged red cape billowing in the wind, the victor put his fists on his hips and declared his identity to the world. Is this like a Cadman Jr.?
I don't know.
Yeah! Chicken punk! Daith?
Yeah, Dave.
Daith, Arctic World, Supremacy Space. The Cogitant spoke 2 words and his enemy fell. A hole neatly opened up in their back. Yeah! You already know who it is. He didn't stop to consider the labor he'd just completed, though. He just started to walk, stepping over the corpse as if it wasn't there. He ignored the dead, he ignored the cold. He ignored the blizzard whipping at his skin. After all, Dragon Hadrian's work was not yet done. Tour Anir, Farming World, Supremacy Space. Popcorn.
Mia Loco, sitting on a pile of rubble, stretched out luxuriously. He was wearing naught but a pair of frayed jeans, the sole concession he'd been willing to make for his sponsors, as he bit into a stray tomato. He frowned. It tasted bad. He disliked it.
This tomato is rotten, he said, looking at the camera and winking.
Tomatoes were meant to be this village's specialty, weren't they? And yet they tasted like this. Disappointing. It had been better in Mayor Loco's time, hadn't it? Perhaps it was just the way it had been banged around before reaching his hand. It didn't matter. He tossed it aside. How long had this outer melee been going on for? Half an hour just about, and it was pretty much finished anyway. It was about time to wrap things up. But he still had things to consider, events to process. This was a good place to get away from chattering voices. They were too high up to be heard, after all. Halcyon, did he trust them? No, he had no reason to trust them. They wished to use him as a pawn in a game he did not care to play, but they were convenient for now. He'd play along with their petty ambitions until they became disadvantageous. Blood dripped down from above. Mirloco sighed, long and hard, and looked up. There, in the sky above, all around, floated the unfortunates. The rest of the contestants, their bodies robbed of gravity by his Unchained, could do little more than float upwards and cry for mercy. Powerlessness presented. Some had possessed Aether abilities that allowed them some mobility in zero gravity, but he'd eliminated them first. It had been the logical thing to do. A stoic expression on his face, Mirloco raised his closed fist up. The more things change, the more they stay the same, he considered. Your throne is still within my reach, Damon. Mirloco opened his fist and watched, morose, as it began to rain.
Who's Damon? Is that the heir?
Well, we remember there's been a Supreme mentioned, Damon the Devilish.
Ooh! That's right, and he made Quantum King.
Yeah.
Okay.
Iron Yggdrasil, Seed Shuttle 3, Supremacy Space, present day. Matoy Mizazi let out a heavy breath, igniting and banishing a radiant from his palm again and again.
This is because he's in between contests, right?
What do you mean?
That he's on Iron. So they're not. I assume there's not an inner melee on Ioneer.
No.
He already did his outer melee, right? So he's like resting now.
We'll see. Once before vital missions, he would have found himself reaching for Luminescence's sheath for reinsurance. Perhaps this was the same impulse translated to a new self. The confirmation that he had a weapon that could fight back against whatever the world sent his way. Blood on the grass. If only that were true. Commander, Morgan called up from the seats that lined the small round shuttle, more like a mass of branches winding into a circular bench. Ioneer says we'll arrive planetside in 5 minutes. We're cutting it pretty close to the inner, you know. We'll make it, Mizazi said firmly. He watched, staring as the landscape of ocean hate grew closer through the viewports. The name of the planet seemed accurate enough. Below them was a great red sea like blood, spreading out as far as the eye could see. The only exceptions to the crashing crimson waves were a few cities floating on artificial landmasses and, far off in the distance, the warped centipede-like carcass of the devil. The dark wreckage was such that it stretched all across the horizon. One of the Arcana automatics. It was said that when it was finally brought down here, it poisoned the sea forever in a final act of spite. On the other hand, the substance used to contaminate the water had turned out to be a potent fertilizer, so Mizazi supposed all things would turn to man's ends eventually. The radiant flicked on. The radiant flicked off. Enough. It was time to be disgraceful. Mizazi turned his head to look back at those assembled in the shuttle. Morganot watched, waiting eagerly for orders. Ashdel Duran sat still, his arms crossed, his eyes gently shut. Marcus Grage polished his prize pistol, his breathing steady. And Gregory Hazard regarded Mizazi with a single open eye, the crimson pupil like a drop of accusatory blood.
Oh, is he going to bring them all in to help him in the inner melee?
Be ready, Mizazi said, his voice tasting like bile on his tongue. And remember the plan. The shuttle shuddered as it began to land.
Oh, he cheating. Is he dishonorable now?
Oh.
Has Mizazi lost his way?
Who can say?
And? You can say. You can say. That is always the answer to that question. It doesn't change.
But yeah.
Let's see if there's any... Oh my goodness gracious. Let's see if there's any Aether questions in the Aether channel. Aether... No. Okay. Fuck. Let me think of one real quick.
Yeah, no problem.
Tell me about... let me think about this. Okay. Tell me about... fuck.
About the devil.
Yeah, tell me about the devil.
So the devil's whole thing was chemical warfare, basically. There's this huge, fucking absurdly big automatic, and it could just, like, create poison and toxic substances, like, against any target, basically, once it had analysed them.
Could it make Gene Tyrant venom?
It could. Theoretically. If
Ooh,
presented
maybe
with,
that's where it originally came from.
if presented with an opponent that would require Gene Tyrant Venom to kill.
AKA Gene Tyrant.
Yeah.
Because remember, the Arcana automatics were designed to be before Aether. That was like, this is how we're going to fight the Gene Tyrants. And then it didn't work out so hot, and then Aether got discovered. Or at least that's how I originally wrote it. I don't know if you changed it.
I think it's meant to be like simultaneous, basically. The Arcana automatics came once the revolutions began, basically.
Okay, yeah.
But they went rogue during that.
Yeah. All right, so it did get changed a little bit. No worries, that makes sense. I like that. So what is your? Because don't do Fool, because I might still use Fool. But like, what is your favorite one that you've got waiting in the wings? Unless it's a secret.
The moon.
Ooh, tell me about the moon.
I can't.
What?
I can't.
Well, that's fitting because the moon card is all about secrecy.
Yeah.
And mystery. Very excited. Is the moon? I hope the moon is literally just a moon that orbits a planet,
I couldn't tell.
and then it like controls the tides.
The sun with 2 rocks in the desert.
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching, as always, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.